In football, expectations can be a double-edged sword. While some players rise to the occasion, others falter under the weight of anticipation. Today, we're taking a look at the top 10 most overrated players of the 2024-25 season, those whose performances didn't quite live up to the hype, or the transfer fee in some of the examples. Number 1 on the list is Ronald Araujo. Once hailed as one of the world's best centre-backs during Barcelona's 2022-23 title-winning season, yes, we all remember his iconic battles with Vinicius Jr down the flank. Araujo's recent form has been a shadow of his former self. Injuries have affected his consistency, most recently after the Copa America when he was out for 6 months. Even upon returning to the starting lineup at the beginning of 2025, he struggled to adapt to Hansi Flick's tactical demands. He's frequently been caught not following the rest of the back line, leading to an eventual opponent's goal in situations where his slow reaction has cost the team dearly. His latest poor performance came at the worst possible moment, in the second leg of the Champions League semi-final, when his entrance onto the pitch in the second half completely changed the game for Barca defensively. First, he allowed Francesco Acerbi to overtake him for a ball in the 6-yard box. Then, in extra time, he failed to cope with Marcus Thuram, whose run into the box led to an into goal. Next, we have another player who has fallen out of favour due to his recent form. Martin Ødegaard is another player who has struggled with injury, but he's had enough time to recover for the most important part of the season. However, his influence has waned. Following a successful 2022-23 campaign, in which he scored 15 goals and provided 7 assists in the Premier League, Ødegaard's goal contributions have decreased significantly, with just 2 goals and 8 assists in the Premier League this season. This is his lowest tally since joining the Gunners permanently. While his leadership off the ball remains commendable, his on-ball impact has not met the high expectations set by his previous performances. You can give your thoughts in the comments below, but many Arsenal fans suggest that they'd have had better success in their quest for a major trophy if Ødegaard had played better. He could also have faced a certain Argentinian bull in the Champions League final if he'd been more consistent. While Ødegaard had underperformed heavily this season, nobody rates him that highly. Lautaro Martinez, however, is the complete opposite. The Argentinian has consistently performed well for Inter Milan, but the 2024-25 season hasn't been his most prolific. In Serie A, he has scored 12 goals in 31 appearances and has netted an additional 9 goals in the Champions League, bringing his total goals across all competitions to 22. Most astonishingly, however, Lautaro has only provided 3 assists this season, which is far lower than his usual standard. While these numbers sound respectable this year, they mark his second lowest goal and assist tally since joining Inter in 2018. Only his debut season saw fewer goal involvements, with 11 in total. Nevertheless, Lautaro remains a focal point in discussions about individual honours, including the Ballon d'Or. This is what makes him very overrated in our view. I mean, even some respected sites like Score90 are ranking him 6th. Using that logic, they might actually put him in one of the top spots if he wins the Champions League. The only way he has any chance of winning the award is if he scores a hat-trick or plays like prime Diego Milito in the final against PSG. Anything less than that, and still being in the top 3 would be a crime. And talking about the Ballon d'Or, we have the main character of the last edition of the award. On our number 4 spot, Vinicius indeed entered the 2024-25 season with high expectations, especially after his emphatic declaration, "I will do it 10 times if I have to." They are not prepared. Well, they probably weren't prepared for your poor form, bro, because it took you nearly 4 months to score again in La Liga after that. In 29 league matches, he scored 11 goals and provided 7 assists. That's far below his usual standards. I mean, the only stellar thing he could be remembered for this season is how good he copies Mbappe's celebration. Nothing else. And returning to the topic of the Ballon d'Or, some people really think that he has a chance of being in the top 15 for the award. In my opinion, he doesn't even deserve to be nominated. The only vintage Vini Jr game we saw from him was the 5-2 comeback against Borussia Dortmund in October. Next up is another Brazilian player with a much lower reputation than Vini. Douglas Luiz is not only incredibly overrated given the price Juventus paid for him, you could also argue that he's the worst transfer this season. In 19 league appearances, he's failed to score or assist, playing just 516 minutes. According to Footy Stats, his average rating is a modest 6.5, placing him 316th among 450 midfielders in the league. In the Champions League, he featured in 6 matches without contributing to the scoreboard. Despite his previous reputation as one of the most creative midfielders in the Premier League during his time at Aston Villa, Luiz's current form suggests that the hype surrounding his transfer may have been premature. Ultimately, Juve paid €50 million for him, and based on his performances this season, he hasn't justified even 5% of that investment. The situation with Rafael Leão is different. He hasn't gone anywhere, but AC Milan have put a high price tag on him given his recent performances. On paper, his numbers are not bad, 12 goals and 11 assists across all competitions. However, when you consider his previous stats, the full picture emerges. Those 23 goal involvements were achieved in 50 matches in the 2024-25 season, whereas his previous 3 seasons, he never reached 50 games but still performed better. Early in the season, he was benched for several matches due to tensions with the then manager Paulo Fonseca over his defensive contributions. Although he showcased moments of brilliance, such as his decisive role in the Supercoppa Italiana final, those were sporadic. In the Champions League, he scored only 3 goals and provided 1 assist in 10 appearances. While Leao's talent is undeniable and he's attracting interest from many big clubs, the disparity between his potential and his consistent output raises questions about the accolades he continues to receive. On the other hand, how effective do you think the winter transfer window is? Let me give you a quick example. Man City struggled in their first half of the season, spent big in January and paid €75 million for Omar Marmoush, all in an attempt to save their season. In the end, they still won nothing. Really poor management. As for Marmoush, he enjoyed a meteoric rise at Eintracht Frankfurt, scoring 20 goals and providing 14 assists in just 26 appearances until January. Manchester City then secured his signature for €75 million, thinking he would replicate those performances in England. Well, nothing of the sort. His transition to the Premier League has been far from seamless. Since joining City, Marmoush has scored only 7 goals in 20 appearances across all competitions. While we can all agree that moving from one major league to another is difficult, perhaps City should have not rated him so highly. He's surely one of the most overrated ballers this season. Now, with only 3 players left, we have to talk about a very hot name right now, Ousmane Dembele. Ballon d'Or, European treble, history with PSG. These terms are being heard everywhere these days. However, the reality is as follows. Firstly, his season was a tale of 2 halves. In Ligue 1, he was prolific, scoring 21 goals in 29 matches and becoming the league's top scorer. However, critics argue that his domestic success is inflated due to Ligue 1's perceived lack of competitiveness, and there's actually a truth in that. Okay, Dembele is Ligue 1's top scorer, but are we all going to ignore the fact that he's level with no other than Mason Greenwood, a player who played for Getafe last season? Ballon d'Or? Really? His PR is so high that journalists and pundits really think he can lift the most coveted individual trophy. What's your opinion, guys? For our 9th name on the list, we have an interesting example, which is more of an address to his fans than a criticism of him. We can all agree that Ethan Nwaneri's emergence has been extraordinary, right? Stepping in for Bukayo Saka during his injury absence, Nwaneri made 36 appearances, scoring 9 goals and providing 2 assists. So far, so good. At one moment, however, we all started seeing things like this, or this. Yes, those claims are completely shameless and meaningless. Yamal is arguably the best player in the world already, while Nwaneri is undoubtedly a talented player with great potential, but nothing more than that. Lastly, there's Chelsea's talisman, Cole Palmer. We've heard things like Yamal dependency, Messi dependency, and Salah dependency. Put simply, whenever they play well, their teams also overperform. So bearing this in mind, what do you think about Palmer's dependency? Up until December, Palmer was playing like his former self from last season. Along with him, Chelsea were also flying high. They were even considering themselves as contenders for the Premier League title. However, with 2025 kicking off, everything for Palmer collapsed. So did Chelsea. Having comfortably kept up with Liverpool and Arsenal, Chelsea suddenly crashed out and are now not even certain of qualifying for the Champions League. While Palmer is still contributing to the team, perhaps we should acknowledge that sustained excellence is required before he can be considered one of the game's elites. Do you think we missed anyone? Let us know in the comments. Also, remember to leave a like on this video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe to the Blue Card channel. Also, be sure to turn on the bell notification so that you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time. Bye.